So let's see what that is. Now, this paragraph starts with questions. Why do we chant Krishna's holy name? So everyone can take a moment on, I'll just pause this for 2-3 seconds. Why do we chant Krishna's holy names? What moves us to chant? You can mentally think about those answers, whatever the answer that comes into you. Is it because it feels good? Because we promised we would chant? Because chanting has become our habit? Despite any public response, we might have to this question. Despite any public response we might have to these questions, those of us who contemplate the question seriously probably have a private response to it as well. That private response reflects the level of our advancement. So you can write down these questions. Why do we chant Krishna's holy names? What moves us to chant? Is it because it feels good? Because we promised we would? Because chanting has become our habit. So you can all personally write answers and contemplate on that. So that private response reflects the level of our advancement. Now let's get further. In his Madhurya Kadambini, page number 59, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the consciousness of devotees fixed in their shelter, surrendered to Krishna. Devotees at the level of Niṣṭhā. At the stage of Niṣṭhā, one can detect the spiritualization of the consciousness in many ways. But the materialistic influence is still prominent, prayaki. At Nishtha, there is still a trace abhasa of attraction to mundane topics. But although traces of the qualities born of rajo-guṇa and tamo-guṇa may be present, they no longer affect the devotees. This is from Madhurya Kadambini, page number 35, but I don't know which, there could be different books. Which book of 35, I don't know. These lingering effects may not impel a fixed soul to perform inappropriate activities. Nonetheless, they are troublesome because they conflict with the purity of his heart. Just as the grit of sand on the floor hampers the feeling of auspiciousness one has in another otherwise clean room. Complete purity means removing even the smallest grains of sand from the consciousness. Now, Prabhupada writes, and this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, 12.135 purport. By his practical example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the outside of the temple, fearing that the grains of sand would again come within. In this connection, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for fruitive activity again comes into being within the heart. One often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity. But the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, described as kuttinati, fault findings, and pratisthasha, the desire for name and fame and for high position. Jiva himsa, envy of other living entities. Nisidhachara, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra. Kama, desire for mental gain. And puja, hankering for popularity. The word kuttinati means duplicity. As an example of pratisthasha, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakura by living in a solitary place. One's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be good as Haridas Thakura just to because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. A neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desire for woman and money. Now we should apply desire for men and money. So it applies for both genders. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and becomes harder and harder, like that of a materialist. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 12.135 purport. Hearing and chanting Krishna's holy names in the association of devotees causes our Krishna consciousness desires to increase. Our humility then deepens as we become painfully aware of whatever impurities still remain hidden in our hearts. Sorry for the disturbance. We may still have desires springing from our long association with passion and ignorance. But devotees on the level of Niṣṭhā do not wish to cultivate those desires. They don't want them fulfilled. Rather, they deeply desire only to attain Krishna's service. Their sincere desire for him attracts Krishna to purify them further and award taste. A lot of things to contemplate on this thing. I'll just go back to Srila Prabhupada's purport. Please make a note of this purport number from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.135 purport. It gives a clear picture of certain things. If we don't understand why and why we are doing what we are doing, it may lead into a problem, big problem. Um, so Prabhupada says that one often think of conducting business to improve devotional activities. Um, Business here not necessarily means that you're running a business, corporate business, but that can also be applied over here. But the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, described as kutinati. Everything starts with when we are getting into the mood of how do we know that we are getting into downside of Krishna consciousness is when you start finding fault in other devotees and others. So that's where everything starts. Once you start finding fault, the reason that we try to point fault is because that we want to justify or prove that I am better than you. Therefore, I try to find fault. Um, so that's a pratishtha, mean desire for wanting to have name and fame or a position. Mm. This usually happens in politics, right? In politics, what happens is that one party try to find faults in the other party constantly. One party A will find fault in party B. Anything good also the party B does, they will try to find he did not do this one. That is not given. They could have done this one. So therefore, this is fault finding nature. The fault finding is nature is simply tells us that because one is desiring for name, fame, and also some positions in society. And by doing this, what happens is the next thing comes jiva himsa. Jiva himsa is the person start becoming himsa. We spoke about this. That is eh, uh, torturing the living entities or becoming envious of the other living entities, um, and then by mentally or by verbally or by action, this happens then. And once that we get into that program, then we are going to do everything that's against to what has been told in the Shastra. Nisidhachara means then we are going to do everything against what, because first of all, we shouldn't be finding fault. We find fault because we want to criticize someone so we can be justified as a right person. That is because I want to be recognized in the society for name, fame, prestige. And that obviously going to hurt the other living entities and the surrounding people also. And by doing these things, what we are simply doing is not following the prescribed scriptures and instruction given by the acharyas and gurus. And that will lead to karma. Karma means further desire. Desire for material gains, more gains. I need more followers. I need then wealth. I need this one and that one. And people should worship me. I should become popular. And these things all comes into the picture. Everything starts in fault finding. So just be careful as we are going in Krishna consciousness. Especially this happens when when devotee becomes very close. When devotees become very close, it's nice to be very close, but at the same time, the respect should be there. If you don't have the respect, then naturally the closeness will start become a place of finding faults. So we have to be very, very careful on this one. Okay, I'll pause. Someone, a few years back, someone asked in Srimad Bhagavatam class when His Holiness Ramapada Swami Maharaj was giving a class, someone was saying that Maharaj, I think that I'm finding fault in such and such. The person does not mention the name. I'm finding fault in devotees. And Maharaj's response was, well, that is because of the contamination of the being taking advantage of being close. So you have to seek forgiveness and keep a distance and rectify yourself, contemplate internally, and see the good things in the other devotees rather than seeing the faults in other devotees, as we are not qualified to see faults in others, as we ourselves have so much of faults. So the point here is that we have to take responsibility. We have to take responsibility. Many times, what we are trying to do is we are trying to take a position of the victim. You all understand what victim is. I'm being I'm being blamed, I'm being criticized, I'm being that Prabhu did this one, this Mataji did it when the temple president did this one, that head of the department did not allow me to do this one. We always try to take the victim position. It's most of the time this is what happened. We want to take a victim position, and to take that, we obviously have to blame others, that we have to blame others. Otherwise, we can, because of this, I did not do this, Prabhu. Because of that Prabhu, I did not do this, Prabhu. Because of that Mataji, I did not do, I was not able to do this one. So we are always trying to find a reason for why we are not doing what we are actually supposed to do as per the Shastra. Um, but the but the important point is that rather than becoming a victim and start blaming others for not what we are doing or what we are supposed to do on the right path, we have to take accountability. It's very important that we take accountability of things that's happening around us. Otherwise, we are going to keep finding faults in every single devotee, and that's not going to end. It will continue. And more we continue, that becomes our nature of finding faults in devotees. The solution is take up ownership, take up accountability. It's me, I have to do things. It's not that someone else have to do things. Let me take up a responsibility. Let me take up ownership of how I have to be rather than blaming others. What needs to be corrected on my side? Let me work on that. So this is an important point that as a practicing devotees, and as we are all in this group called aspiring devotees, most of them are not initiated yet. And this is the right time to keep this in mind for rest of the life, that I am taking ownership. I'm not giving the ownership to others. What happens if you try to give the ownership to others and we are driven by others' choices? Number one. Number two is we are just acting as a victim. Again, the same, helpless victim. It's not true. One cannot say I'm helpless, therefore I'm being like this. That's not true statement. Any growing devotee or a mature devotee will take up the point important thing, that I will take the responsibility, I'll take the ownership, I am accountable. I am accountable for things. When we have this mentality in our practice of Krishna conscious right from now, as we are all aspiring devotees, It will help further to really, really get into proper consciousness to chant and release Krishna. Otherwise, everything is going to be lip movement, lip service. It's only going to be lip service. We are also chanting 16 rounds. We are also doing all those things. We also say, I'm your servant, etc. This is all lip services. We don't want to do lip services. We have to do actually, intently, consciously, we want to do services. So that's the point from this today's presentation or reading. We still have a couple of more subsections within this chapter. We'll continue. Thank you all very much for joining. If there's any, we'll see if there's any one question. I know we are just past a minute because this is a beautiful thing that we read for our practical application. Kutinati, fault finding, Pratisthasha, desiring for name and fame, Jiva Himsa, envy of other living entities, and Niṣṭhāchara, accepting things forbidden by Shastra. And that leads to Kama, desire for material gains, and then Puja, hankering for popularity. Therefore, let's not develop this duplicity within ourselves. That's not good. Questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dhanvat Pranam, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, I have a question, Prabhu. So, if in the congregation, if some devotees are willing to come to some devotees' home, if you have any home program, but some devotees not at all showing up, when we conduct any home program, like in the sense, like some those devotees will come in some home programs, and if someone other conducting the home program, they are not at all showing up. So how can we take this in the Krishna consciousness, Prabhu?
Have you had a personal conversation with that person to find it?
Personal conversation, how, like, they will say, okay, they have some worker. So if we one time is a worker, so every time they say, sir, how can we take that?
Can you just request that person? If just I'm taking a situation, say if it is your house and that person is not coming to your house, just a scenario. Okay, I don't know the details. So if it is your house, what I would do is I request it. That person tells I'm busy. I have work. Second time that person says the same thing. Third time, I mean, we've been. Everyone comes to our house except you, Prabhu Mataji. It'll be a great honor if you can come to our house and honor our house, the program. We are just humble request. Can you please come and make sure that you can make it? We've been wanting to serve you at our house. Could you please come? And humble, or tell me a day where you can come. I can change the whole program to accommodate your availability. Could you please come? Have you tried that?
Yeah, we can try that, Prabhu. Yeah, even devotees kids also, the people will show up in some places, and some places they won't show up.
I think I gave the answer. So you can try that one.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't work, everyone is individual. They have their liking and disliking, unfortunately, among the devotees,
Mm-hmm.
and they may choose to accept your request. They may still not change and they may still not respect your request. Absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Yeah, that way to understand how
But
to.
my thing is that we have to try the best. After we try the best, then we become detached. Even while you're trying, even while you're making attempts while trying this thing, you have to be detached.
Mm.
But if it doesn't work, in spite of your genuine try, then you just accept it and have the same respect to that person. And the second thing is you're not going to talk about the situation to another host or another person. He comes to your house, she comes to your house, but not to my house. I even requested very humbly, but that person doesn't come to my house. This is not a discussion we need to have with anyone. We are done.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. That makes sense.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Let's all meet tomorrow, 5 a.m. Central. Until then, chant and be happy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.